Hey there, Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah. I am a Western Practical Astrologer. Okay, so in today's video, we are going to be talking all about the mythologies of Pisces, Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and Greek. That way, you can gain a deeper understanding about this compassionate sign. Stay tuned because we are going to get into it. But before we do, make sure that you give this video a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And if you are interested in booking a reading with me, then you can visit my website, hannahselsewhere.com. There you can also find my practical astrology ebooks guide, merch, cheat sheets, all that good stuff. And the 2024 calendar is also available. And if you do want extra astrology content early, plus daily forecasts and guides, head on over to my Patreon. And I just want to say thank you so much to my patrons over there. As always, I hope you find this video to be helpful. Let's do this. All right, so first and foremost, I want to give a massive shout out to the author of this book, Liz Greene. This book is Astrology for Lovers. I highly recommend this read, and thanks to Liz Greene's knowledge, I have been able to create this very series. All right, so let's start off by turning our attention to ancient Babylon. The constellation of Pisces was referred to as, I will insert the words right here, the tails. Pisces was represented as a bird and a fish connected by a cord. Pisces is the Latin word for fishes. I know, it's quite cute. And is one of the earliest zodiac signs on record. Now, the bird from this constellation is known as the swallow, and the bird followed the line of the ecliptic, and then the fish part would swim upwards. Now, in the first millennium BCE, texts known as the astronomical diaries. So within these texts, part of the Pisces constellation was called, I'll put the words here, the fish cord or ribbon. And the cord itself is another example of a celestial bond that often appears in Babylonian star lore in connection with the location of the solstices and equinoxes. The fish was also identified with, I will also put the word here, meaning the Lady of Heaven, who was related to Ashtar, aka Ayanana, and we have talked about Ayanana in previous videos. But get this, the Lady or Queen of Heaven was also sometimes depicted as a mermaid. Yes. From this, I want you to consider that Ayanana descended into the underworld, and there is a part of Pisces that is tied to the underworld, to the deepest and darkest cosmic waters, to the soils of the earth. And it is from here that new life is given. It is also thought that the constellation of Pisces represented the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers, which were major landmarks of Mesopotamian maps. This image of the two rivers is the ultimate origin of the symbolism of Pisces. The floodwaters of these rivers were essential to the ongoing prosperity of the land. When the tails are well aspected, the land is prosperous. There is also a great abundance when Jupiter stands in this constellation, which is significant because Jupiter rules Pisces in the zodiac. Indeed, there is something rather purifying and cleansing about Pisces. Now, when we look to the myth, there is a story about a dove. Two fish found an egg in one of the rivers and they pushed it onto the land. A dove then flew over and it sat on the egg. The egg then hatched, and from this egg came Astarte, who was the Syrian version of Ayanana. And it was she who was the fish goddess of water and fertility. She also had a son called Ichthys. Her son was also a fish, and interestingly, this myth is also seen in Greek mythology, which we will get to shortly. But I want you to remember what we talked about in the Virgo mythology video. We explored how the Babylonians associated Virgo with Ishtar, aka Inanna. Inanna was a fertility goddess, and according to astrologer Jessica Davidson, in the Bible, Inanna was seen as a WHORE because her priestesses would have sex with the king in order to maintain the fertility of the land. However, such acts were not seen as shameful. It was about maintaining order. Still, there are also connections between Virgo and the underworld and the significance of new life. Now, I would move on to Egyptian mythology, but there isn't a lot of information for this one. The only thing I found was that in ancient Egypt, Pisces is associated with the creation story and the fish of the Nile. And so once again, drawing these connections between Pisces and creation. Now, I'm just going to put the word here, but this was an ancient Egyptian goddess of fish and the inundation of the Nile River. Now, this goddess's name is typically translated as foremost of fish, literally translating to chief head fish. And so once again, drawing more connections between the floodwaters and the fish that came with them. All right, so let's now move on to Greek mythology, the Greek mythology of Pisces. Greek mythology is always my personal favorite. Okay, so Pisces is connected with the Greek story of Aphrodite and Eros. The story goes that a Greek god under the name of Typhon was a deadly monster who sought to kill the other gods. He was on a killing spree. Typhon was described as a giant whose upper body was that of a man, along with his legs consisting of snakes. His head was also a collection of dragon heads, and he even had wings. Safe to say, Typhon was a very strong and powerful god. Very scary, very terrifying as well. However, the other gods did not treat Typhon with much respect or acceptance. They treated him like an outcast. But one day, Typhon had enough of their rejection, and so he took to Mount Olympus to seek his revenge. Yes. The gods, being frightened of Typhon, fled the scene. As Typhon approached Mount Olympus, Aphrodite, aka Venus, and her son Eros, aka Cupid, found themselves desperate and in need of escape. So they turned into fish and they swam to safety whilst being tied together by a cord to make sure that they did not lose one another. Now, another version of the myth suggests that two other fish took them to safety whilst they were fish. Whatever the case, though, they ended up escaping Typhon thanks to the help of two fish. Pan actually warned the others before himself then changing into a goatfish and then jumped into the river. Do recall with Capricorn, the Capricorn symbol being the goatfish, and also thinking about Capricorn's associations with Pan. Now, in a similar myth, the fish Pisces carries Aphrodite and her son out of danger, and in another myth, an egg falls into the river. Of course, it was then rolled onto the shore by fish. The dove then sat on the egg until it hatched. And so out from this comes Aphrodite. And interestingly, from this, the Pisces constellation was also known as Venus, a Cupido, or Dion, amongst other names. Okay, so from this myth, we can recognize the qualities of Pisces that are merging and devoted. Aphrodite and Eros transformed into two fish together, and they were connected by a cord that would always bring them back together. We also notice how this myth represents boundless love, and Pisces is a sign associated with loving unconditionally without limits. The symbolism of the cord is quite powerful because it suggests that one could not live without the other. Furthermore, this myth addresses the dual nature of this sign, okay? On one side, there is an individual who contributes to society, but on the other side, there is an individual who struggles to grasp reality. Likewise, on one side, there is an individual who is confined by time and space, but on the other side, there is an individual who is limitless and knows no bounds. Therefore, the archetype of Pisces can signify this yin-yang dynamic between infinity and time and between the inner and outer worlds. Now, according to Liz Greene, Pisces can also be associated with Christian mythology. In fact, it's the Christian era that is sometimes known as the Age of Pisces. And interestingly enough, the fish is often used in Christian symbolism to represent Jesus Christ. Within this fish symbol can be found many important themes that correlate with the sign of Pisces, such as a deeper awareness of the collective and the unconscious, and also of the higher self, and also looking at spirituality, looking to God, looking to creation. Now, take for example here the story of the feeding of the 5,000, known as the miracle of the 5 loaves and 2 fish. Yes, 2 fish. The Gospel of John reports that Jesus used 5 loaves and 2 fish to feed a multitude of people. These food items were supplied by a boy. Jesus directed the people to sit down in groups on the grass. Jesus then took the 5 loaves and 2 fish and looked up to the heavens. He gave thanks and then broke the food. He then gave the food to the disciples to then pass on to the people, and of course the number of people that were fed was about 5,000. And so when we look at this story, we then notice these qualities of Pisces that signify miraculous events, unexplainable events as well, okay? Looking at miracles. Pisces is the sign connected with the ethereal, and is deeply spiritual in nature. We also notice qualities of Pisces that are kind and caring and compassionate through this fairy story. And essentially, we notice themes of Pisces throughout Christianity, okay? So take also the story of Jesus Christ's death. He was crucified on the cross to save the people. He then rose again 3 days later. And according to the Bible, Jesus performed many miracles, such as walking on water, changing water into wine, and also healing a man who was blind from birth. Ultimately, it's the archetype of Pisces that signifies suffering, healing, empathy, compassion, spirituality, and sacrifice, but also believing in the impossible. Now, on the other hand, okay, there are also parts of Pisces that can be delusional, wishy-washy, inconsistent, and avoidant of reality, okay? Sides of Pisces that can escape and can avoid responsibility. This sign can bury its head in the sand the moment that it comes up against something challenging or difficult. Pisces can also be highly sacrificing with little boundaries. And so this leaves them open to be taken advantage of, used, taken for granted. And whilst there is also something rescuing about this sign, okay, there is something pure and good and whole. This is a sign of great surrender, but it's also a rather dark and twisted sign, okay? There is a side to Pisces that can be like this. Even refer back to the typhon, right? The sort of big creature in this way. The side of Pisces that can go to the darkest corners of its mind. Addictive tendencies too. The part of Pisces that can be helpless and can lose itself, that can lash out. Merging as well strongly with an emotion or an idea or a way of being, disillusionment, suffering, isolation, loneliness, phobias, deep fear, turning to unhealthy ways of coping, unhealthy ways of dealing with the world. Imagine again that monster from the mythology representing the part of Pisces that can destroy itself, the part of Pisces that can swallow itself whole without realizing. Pisces can be greatly troubled in life, really burdened by the struggles and the stresses and the worries of the world as well, taking everything on. And so this is about the push and the pull here between life and death, between survival and destruction. This is about enlightenment versus cruelty. The war created within the self. Does one rise higher and practice kindness and self-compassion, or does one fall into a world of chaos and complete insanity? And this is where we notice the qualities Pisces can often lack. Qualities of being practical and sensible, as well as qualities of rationality, reason, motivation, and drive. Consider where Pisces sits in the zodiac. Opposite Virgo, the sign of cleaning up one's act and following a system, and between signs Aquarius and Aries. Aquarius is the hidden self of Pisces. Aquarius encourages Pisces to integrate qualities of innovation, invention, and independence. And Aries correlates with the qualities Pisces is here to learn, okay? So the qualities Pisces grows into, qualities of being pioneering, leading, driven, adventurous, and daring. Pisces teaches us about the importance of reaching for something higher in life, to strive for something much bigger than ourselves, much bigger than this world, bigger than our leaders, our parents, our family, looking to creation itself, to God, to source. This is about connecting with our spiritual selves. It's the archetype of Pisces that urges an individual to get in touch with their spiritual essence, to tap into the larger questions of existence. However, unlike Sagittarius, who tries to understand spirituality in an intellectual way, it's Pisces that feels into the spiritual world, okay? Pisces doesn't necessarily follow religious principles and practices, but rather Pisces signifies an inner knowing. It's a sign that turns inwards and goes deeper. Both Sagittarius and Pisces are signs of faith, but it's Pisces that can be silent in its faith, as it appreciates that it doesn't have to explain its faith to others. Today, there are so many people who share their beliefs and their faith openly with the world. We notice the likes of preachers on the streets proclaiming Jesus Christ is the way. We notice religious folks praying in temples and mosques and churches. We also notice spiritual gurus on social media with their ideologies of oneness, right? But it's this mighty sign that represents just how mysterious spirituality is. I mean, does anyone know the true essence of why humanity is here? How does one measure the universe anyway, if research suggests that it's infinite? Indeed, it's Pisces that represents just how ludicrous it is to try to concretely define something that is invisible and untouchable. Many individuals try to figure out the meaning of the universe, God, divine intelligence, but who is correct? Therefore, this archetype signifies all things mystical, otherworldly, magical, esoteric. Indeed, Pisces relates to anything spiritual and soulful as opposed to the material/physical world. But like I said, it's a sign of inner knowing. It's a sign of following our intuition and believing in our connection with the divine. We also tap into our imagination and our dreams, right? In fact, it's Pisces that imagines and yearns for a better world for all. Pisces is a sign that can feel bogged down by the sorrows of the world, and as it goes through, it can go through these stages and these states of depression. But when inspired, Pisces can have a remarkable imagination and insight to share. It's a sign that can channel the collective unconscious and tap into other realms and worlds and dimensions. Meaning, we learn from this sign how to tap into the unbelievable, the unknown. We can then take what we discover and express it through the likes of art, music, poetry, film, dance, etc. Pisces represents the inner understanding that whatever it feels with others. So for example, the happiness one person feels can be associated with another person's happiness. Likewise, the sorrow that one person feels can be associated with another person's sorrow. This same outlook can be associated with how people think and perceive the world. But overall, Pisces explores the collective unconscious and shows up as spirituality, healing, and emotional depth in our charts. This deep sea cleanser, this deep ocean cleanser, is moved greatly from within and feels profoundly for others. This is about exploring who we are without an audience. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes my video talking all about the mythology of Pisces. Please let me know if you found this video to be helpful. Did you learn something new? I would really appreciate your feedback, and like you, I am always learning. Of course, you can find all of the sources that I used in this video in the description box down below, and I do just want to say again, thank you so much to my patrons over at Patreon for all of your support. As always, let me know your thoughts and your opinions on today's video in the comment section. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching, thank you for subscribing, and of course, if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then make sure that you click that subscribe button and also give this video a like if you did like it today, and I will be back with another video very soon. Bye!